Right. Good morning, everyone. This presentation is to cover the proposed food code changes for the 2024 food code. This presentation is being recorded. So with us today, we have Rachel Patterson. She's the Director of the Environmental Health and Sustainability Department. We also have myself, who is going to be the presenter, with Calvin Young, I'm the Environmental Health Manager. So just to give you a little bit of background on the regulation and standards, the 2021 TFER is in effect, and the 2021 TFER has adopted the FDA food code by reference. Texas has also included some certain rules and regulations, and those will be incorporated into our Plano food code. The FDA food code is a model food code. It focuses on best practices. It provides uniform standards across the industry. So those individuals, jurisdictions that actually accept it, they use it as a foundation. It's pretty much so it could be consistent across the United States. Some municipalities decide to use their own food codes, but they do have foundations that are based on the FDA food code. Normally, it's updated every 4 years by the FDA. The City of Plano is required to adopt the TFER at a minimum standards, which we have. We've just incorporated them into one document. The FDA food code standards, which we are part of, we have been part of since 2021. There are 9 standards. We're compliant with 3, and we're pursuing compliance with all 9, which is the reason why we decided to make sure that our food code is updated with the latest information. The standards, again, they focus on the best practices, so that way we can enhance food safety and just make sure that we're providing the best food and the best safety for our residents and our visitors. The regulations, they're developed through the Conference for Food Protection, also known as the CFP. This is an organization, it's nonprofit. It meets every so often to look at the latest data from the industry and decide on rules and regulations that support that. This is our philosophy here in Plano. We're seeking to have consistency and uniformity, not just regionally, but also state and nationwide. We're going to focus on the public health significance, and this just refers to, by the definition and important in 2014, refers to the importance and relevance of a factor from the public health perspective. This is our change process, how we went about developing changes for our food code. It's reviewed by staff, the staff committee, reviewed by supervisors and the management staff here in the division. We're doing public health outreach, which we're doing now, and we're taking back input. And then we're going to have our legal staff review it here in the city of Plano, and then we'll have a final revision. That way everybody can see their individual input and how it was incorporated into the food code. The outreach opportunities, there's 3 meetings, which is our virtual meeting today. We have an in-person meeting on August 7th from 9 to 11 a.m. at the Harrington Library in the program room, 134B. And then we'll have a second one on August 22nd from 1:30 at Haggard Library in the program room. This document is also going to be available at the plano.gov/food code. And that link works. We had some issues starting out, but we did get it fixed, and it is readily available. And if you have any input, you can send it to the envhealth@plano.gov box. And that box is monitored by our admin staff. We'll compile that and include it in a document that we'll publish on our website. We'll try to update that every single week with the latest and greatest questions, so that way the information is available to the public. And then again, we're going to do our legal review after we incorporate the application, applicable comments from all the individuals. So just quick introduction, so that way you can understand the color coding, and you can understand the most restrictive and neutral. So the more restrictive, it has a possibility of impacting operations, but each one may not be applicable to every operation. And neutral, there's no significant impact on operations. We're just providing clarifications and adding additional definitions, clarifying some terms. and changes some terminology. The physical impact, this may impact individuals who don't have certain things in that are required with our changes. So we're going to start out with the more restrictive changes. The first one is the cleanup of vomiting diarrhea events. We understand this is a current requirement. The issue that we encountered was some individuals, some facilities have instructions, but they don't know what needs to be in the kits themselves. So that way, therefore, their instructions may not coincide with the equipment they have. So we're going to define which equipment is needed and just make sure that their standard operating procedures incorporate the required equipment and it's feasible. They know how to use it and they have the equipment to use it. This is a requirement to combat norovirus and other viruses that have the capability of living on surfaces and spreading in facilities. Second one is the washing of fruits and vegetables. Just like we do sanitizing solution, we're going to require testing equipment because we understand that if they don't follow manufacturers' recommendations for limits, it could leave residue on fruits and vegetables, which could cause intoxication for individuals consuming fruits and vegetables that haven't been washed completely. Date marking. Even though facilities already understand the date marking that it's required, this is just to clarify it so that people understand what date they're supposed to start with, so that there's consistency and it's clearly outlined when they're supposed to be counting those 7 days. So just make sure they have the correct expiration date on there, so that way they don't go over that 7-day period and cause a foodborne illness. More restrictive is the time is public health control. So time is public health control has been around for a while. This is just going to explain what they need to do. It's going to add another step to where they actually have to put the date, or I'm sorry, the time that they remove the item from heat, from temperature. Whether it's cold, whether it's hot, they have to put that specific time. So it's just provide more information and outlining when they need to start time as a public health control and the time they actually have to put on there. So therefore, they understand once that time is up, they can discard it. There's no confusion between them and other staff. Surface characteristics. This is removing the requirement for the sealed concrete. We understand that with the sealant being a 1/4 inch thick, it can be difficult, maybe require multiple coats, and then there's really no way for individuals to test that, to make sure it's a 1/4 inch thick. So we're just going to remove that complete requirement. This is often people often request to do this, but once they understand the requirements for the 1/4 inch, they kind of move away from it. And there are other materials in the industry that are better suited, more less inexpensive, that can be used. Cooling heating capacities. So this clarifies the intent of the ice bath. We're going to require this only to be used for short term versus long term. So this could possibly create a financial burden for those facilities that don't have enough cooling, such as the low boil prep tables, the sandwich prep tables. If they're relying on ice to keep items cold longer, they're going to be required to purchase items that don't use ice baths. It's going to be mechanical refrigeration. So this will still be allowed on certain things, short-term buffets, things of that nature. But if it's going to be used long-term, they're going to be required to have mechanical refrigeration. Amendment 2 clarifies parameters used to verify sufficient equipment for hot and cold. So this is going to come into play when we do our plan reviews, or there's a change of ownership and the change of operation. We're going to make sure that based on their menu items, the meals they serve, that they have sufficient hot and cold refrigeration. This possibly require, but if done right, it won't require any financial burden. And then the Amendment 3, just make sure that individuals or facilities follow manufacturer's requirements for cleaning, storage, and setup. There are often times when facilities are small and units are cramped in there. They don't have time, they don't have space for the um, equipment to the fan to blow to cool off the unit, causing the unit to malfunction. So this is just making sure that they follow the manufacturer's requirements for setup, for positioning, and also if they're outside, that they have it in the area where it doesn't create harborage um, or any type of area where pests or rodents can get into the equipment. So this should be no burden to anyone. Manual ware washing. We understand that there are some items that may be too large to fit in either the mechanical dishwasher or the 3-compartment sink. So this will allow individuals to submit um, procedures to the department to get approval if they have larger equipment. So that'll give us a chance to look at their procedures to see if they're mitigating the potential for risk, and then we can allow them to bring this equipment in as long as they follow their own procedures. So this provides them a little bit of latitude. Dump sink. This is going to require each facility to have a dump sink at the bar area. Currently, our data shows that hand washing sink, other sinks are being used as dump sinks. So we're going to require dump sinks at the bar. And we have data to back it up to show that the hand washing station is pretty much the go-to for dump sinks. So this won't go retro. This would start once the code is passed and it be enforced on establishments that are doing a change of ownership, new facilities. And if we understand that there's an issue at the facility that hand washing sinks or other sinks used for ware washing are being used for dump sinks. Don't anticipate this to be a significant financial burden. It's really depending on the facility and their procedures. This one deals with timely corrections. Currently, for the annual permit fee covers the routine inspections. However, it does not cover all the follow-up inspections that we're required to do. So we're going to include any follow-up inspections that we have to perform in a facility, do their non-compliance to and associate a fee with it, and that includes the first reinspection fee. The authority and enforcement. The amendment is prohibiting any person who's in charge to remove our closure signs, obscure our closure signs, or deface our closure signs. And our order to cease and desist in sealing and padlocking. The amendment is proposed to address establishments that operate without a food permit. We've had situations in the past where facilities have not got a certificate of occupancy, have not got a food establishment permit, and they continue to operate at hours after the city's closed. So this way we can seal those and make sure that the public is protected when the facility doesn't have a permit that from us and from the building department that deem the facility safe to operate. Mobility. This deals with our mobile food establishments. This is just defining and clarifying the really movable definition to make sure that the driver understands and operator understands that it has to be movable, either by being driven or being towed by another vehicle. In the initial permitting process, this will require mobile food service operators who are going to be in a location for more than 2 hours, as long as they have permission, that they're going to require to have a restroom facility, whether they have an arrangement with the closest building and there'll be a distance established on that, or there's other facilities in that location. And then the central preparation facility log. This is just being added to make sure that the mobile food establishments return to their commissary at the end of each day to clean, wash dishes, and restock if necessary. This is just a way for us to track to make sure that this is taking place. This is a significant problem that we're having that we're addressing, um, which is the generators. Oftentimes when we do inspections, the generator is not big enough to support all the equipment in the facility. We're just making sure that they have the right size generator and all the equipment is able to operate at the same time. So we're requiring their generator to be turned on while in operation and make sure all the equipment is in operation. So it has to be of proper size. And our neutral changes, arm's length is something we're putting in. This will be addressed in case there's an issue with the facility and to avoid um, enforcement. They transfer to maybe another family member or somebody they're familiar with, and they are still a part of the business. They continue to operate the business. It's just to seek avoiding enforcement action. So this is the definition we're going to include in our new food code, in our updated food code. And then we're also going to include the new allergen, which is sesame, just to make sure it's in accordance with the 2022 food code. We are going to change the mobile food unit to the mobile food establishment. Um, this is in accordance with the food code. They are establishments. So this definition will fit much better. And then provide a definition for push carts. Another neutral change, maintenance. It's restricting food service employees from wearing fingernails. With the new trends, with the attachments and the raised fingernails, the rhinestones. We just want to make sure that this is covered in the food code as well. They wear gloves that are intact. Some nails, they have sharp edges, jagged edges, so it's making sure that they understand they still have to wear gloves, but the gloves also must be intact to prevent contamination. And we're amending the may not to shall not for jewelry, just to give a little bit more definition, a little bit more enforcement. The food display. Um, our current food code requires to clarify the food display equipment, just to make sure it's in compliance with standards. And then we're just going to require all of the equipment to meet ANSI standards. And this is just a clarification. The vertical boiler is being added. This section applies to cooking, such as gyro meat. This is when you have meat that's put on a spear or a spit, and it's rotated around a heat source or the heat. That way, they have clear standard operation procedures to make sure that that item is completely cooked, so that way it doesn't no raw items are served that possibly cause a foodborne illness. And then again, we have our ANSI certified equipment. There's NSF does the testing, but ANSI is kind of like the library for all the testing equipment. So we're going to refer to ANSI because ANSI is the bookkeeper, if you will, for all the approved items for NSF. Draining boards. We're going to require draining boards for dish 3-compartment sinks. This is just to make sure that the storage items are not being stored on the floor so they can be contaminated. And this specifically addresses the dish racks that are going through the machine. A lot of facilities, they'll have these stored on the floor, in contact with the floor. Understand that you have a food contact surface that is going to go in this item that was stored on the floor. So we want to make sure we have enough storage room so these items are at least 6 inches off the ground. And then cleaning frequency and restrictions. It's amended for the requirements to make sure that cleaning takes place at the end of the day for the kitchen. There are instances where individuals, once the closing hour is reached, they just turn off the lights and pretty much leave. So We're just trying to put this in here to make sure that they understand they have to clean everything before they leave. That way they don't leave anything that could cause a possible infestation. Plus, it facilitates a clean facility. And our public health protection, adding provision to define acceptable food service equipment, and this falls along with the ANSI, just to make sure any item being brought into that facility is ANSI approved. It meets the requirements for safe operation, doesn't have any materials that could cause hazards to anybody consuming food that was prepared on the equipment. And prerequisite for operation, adds clarification that requires property owner to verify required food service permit before operation of any establishment on their property. So it's putting some onus back on the actual property owner to make sure that the person that they're subleasing to or leasing to has the required items needed to perform food service operation. And the 30-day calendar requirement is being removed. There are certain situations, change of ownership, or the person completes all their requirements in 30 days. We're just going to remove that to allow them to operate once they meet our requirements. Contents of application, we're just updating it so that we get the required information to make sure our record keeping is improved. That way, in case we need to send out notifications, we have the appropriate information. This will also help with enforcement if necessary, but that is not the main goal. The main goal is to make sure we have the correct information in case emergency rises, we need to notify individuals. Ceasing operation reporting allows us to close the facility if it has an imminent health hazard, and it could also be based on any inspection score. If we have too many violations and the scores meets the threshold, then it allows us to close the facility. The offense, this paragraph is added to the code to provide an enforcement tool when the establishment continues to operate after being ordered to close. So if we have a closure and the facility continues to operate, we can it's an offense. Our mobile food establishment water systems, this will be apply only to our mobile food establishments. States that they can't use residential water heater. It has to be commercial grade. It's already reflected in the food code. We'll just make sure it's clarified. And then also with the compliance for fire code, just making sure that mobile food units and food establishments are compliant with the fire code. Those are all the changes that we've proposed here in the city of Plano for our new food code. This will be available online with the document and the presentation. If you have any input, you have any questions, you can email it to the envhealth@plano.gov, or you could visit our website at www.plano.gov/EHS if you have any questions or you want to review the documents. That concludes this presentation.